Well, you're welcome back to Marketplace. And we are starting with focusing on the banking sector. And if you've been focusing on some developments in or on the market, you heard this news about some two banks that could be going down very soon. Well, there's some big relief for them because the Bank of Ghana is now saying that liquidation would be a last option. So, some good news. Well, in the following Business Desk report, you've been exploring this commentary from the Bank of Ghana as well as some players on the market. Watch it.
For some, the assurance from the central bank is interesting. This is because the said liquidation of these banks is one of the prior actions or requirements that the Bank of Ghana must work on before government can go to the board for its program review by August 30th. But the central bank has ruled out going this way. Head of Banking Supervision Raymond Amanfo tells Joy Business there are options on the table.
The minimum capital is just the floor, okay, and that is the starting block, the building block. You build on the minimum capital requirements, the various risks that you acquire, and whether you require capital. Now, what we are trying to do is to develop a standardized way of measuring the various risks in the various risk areas. And what we are starting with is Pillar 1. We are starting with the market risk. That is basically interest rate risk, exchange rate risk. We are looking at credit risks. How do we measure the risks of credits? Okay. Then we'll look at operational risks. That is risks associated to system failure, to fraud, human error, and all those things.
The assurance from the central bank could come as big relief for depositors of these banks. This is because initial reports of possible liquidation resulted in closure of some accounts of these banks. According to the central bank, some of the initial 9 distressed banks made progress in recapitalizing. In a related development, the Ghana Association of Bankers says it would sanction any action adopted by the central bank to deal with these financial institutions said to be in financial distress. Al-Hassan Andane is president of the association.
If we are looking at the general industry, yes, the industry is ready. A significant part of the industry is ready. Yes, there may be 1 or 2 banks that will require new shareholders or require to inject new capital. Now, to the extent that, again, the niche markets that they have chosen to operate in remain profitable, they will get the requisite capital. But as an industry, if we were to take the 2080 rule, 20% of the industry players who control about 80% of the capital are ready.
The president of the association has also indicated that they are satisfied with plans to possibly increase the minimum capital requirement for banks by next month and introduction of risk-based capital from next year. However, Joy Business understands that there could come some drastic action taken by the Bank of Ghana in the coming days.
And that was a wrap about development in the banking industry. So let's do some analysis on this issue with respect to these banks. Are they going to go down? Are they not going down? What about the actions of the central bank to try and deal with the situation? We've been speaking to Menson Tokono. He's the former MD of Alma Bank and also a banking consultant.
The major problem we are having is that loans are getting bad, and as a result of that, the banks are not able to recover these loans. So their bottom line is thinning off, and some of them, they have their capital adequacy is going below the normal threshold. And as a result of that, Bank of Ghana, they are having their close eyes on them. According to the law, especially when your capital adequacy goes below the threshold for about 2-3 consecutive times, Bank of Ghana has to come in and check what's going on. And if they realize that the situation is chaotic, then they have to come in themselves and begin to manage affairs. So, but you know the kind of economy that we have. We don't want to send ripples down the spines of anybody. So Bank of Ghana is being very careful, even though it's closely monitoring them. The banks are required to have a very robust risk-based kind of checking. So I think most of the banks have very good risk let me put it this way, employees who are risk, they know what the risk is all about. And every bank has that. They have very good risk departments. You know, so I think Bank of Ghana has to check whether the so-called risk-based auditing that is being done nowadays is being carried out, and make sure that they follow the regulated procedure that has been laid down by Bank of Ghana. One of the key things that we're looking at the policy rate, and I think they're also going to be looking at the new capital for banks. But I think one of the things also they should also look at is the value of money that is being kept with the liquidity rate. They should look at the liquidity rate. If they increase the minimum capital, then I would advocate that they should release the liquidity rate that banks keep with the central bank, because that will become money available to be able to do business with.
So that was Menson Tokono. He's the former MD of Alma Bank and also a banking consultant. So from banking, let's also hop into another area that brings money to the economy and also you and I, has to do with mining. Now, the government has challenged to establish an independent body to promote transparency and accountability in the management of mining in Ghana. The 2017 Resource Governance Index ranked Ghana mining sector as 24th out of 89 countries assessed. So what does all these things mean? And we are here, a lot of things are happening in Kumasi with respect to the Public Accounts Committee. Let's watch it.
A 2017 Resource Governance Index report ranked Ghana's mining sector 24 out of 89 countries assessed. Mining scored 37 out of 100 points, whilst oil and gas rated 65 out of 100 points in revenue management. Kwame Jantua, who is Vice Chairman of Public Interest and Accountability Committee, believes challenges in the sector could be addressed if an oversight body is in place.
Very well with mining. So we need to now look at mining strongly. And if we even have to start with a PIAC, Revenue Management Act, Exploration Act for mining, to bring it back to where oil and gas is, would be fantastic. Key things that PIAC has been able to do for the oil and gas sector is the fact that it started with the sector. From the onset of the sector, PIAC was also birthed. So all the steps that the oil industry has taken, PIAC has taken the same. With the mining industry, it's different. 100 years of mining. We do not have the wherewithal and the capacity to do it. And so if we're going to do that, you would need a PIAC of mining technical people. Yes, we can share notes. Even today, you find that some of the things that have happened in the mining industry, we haven't learned in the oil industry. We're now gradually trying to share notes to see how best we can make the oil and gas industry 100%. But yes, we need to do that for the mining sector, because the mining sector gives Ghana a lot of revenue. And from the NDPC, looking at the kind of minerals we have in the ground today, if we don't get a good mining law in place, or good mining laws that would cover mining, it's going to be very difficult.
The passage of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act in 2011 has seen civil society organizations advocate a similar law for mining. Ghana's Petroleum Fund tops the Transparency and Accountability rankings, contributing to good revenue management score. Ranking member of the Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament, Mutawakilu, tells Slab Business a stronger law is requisite to address the issue.
Ghana, we call it the grey stage. You know, we've done gold for a very long time, and the laws are there. Other countries have taken our laws and improved upon them. And some of them are still emerging ones. They look more attractive to investors like Eritrea, Burkina Faso, they came to our place, pick our laws, improve upon them to make them more attractive. That is where you see a shift a little. But I believe that in the long term, Ghana, we are not doing bad. But in terms of revenue, I think we need to sit up and find another way of regulating the revenue from the mining sector. Because whatever is coming from the mining sector, that is royalty and taxes, go to the consolidated fund. And it's a general pool, so it's difficult to assess. And I think that we should look at that side critically.
Prince Apia.
And if you have just joined us, there's this marketplace that looks at the topical business issues, the trending market numbers, and it's all about how it affects you and I. And we're done with mining. Let's do something relating to power because it will concern you. Now, Gridco is saying that they are working on its machines to help improve power supply in the country. Often, these producers have complained about the fact that there's lots of losses in the system because you're using more of like old equipments to work on them. So if you should drive to town these days, look at some of the power generating firms, the substations, you're going to see some improvement. More of LED lights, try to automate the process, and more of fix some GPS systems on them. So I caught up with the managing director of Gridco, William Amuna. Tell us more on this initiative.
Right now, Achimota is virtually new. Winneba is new. Cape Coast, Takoradi. We are currently working on Kumasi. We are working at the Pond Water Works and a number of substations, all now being reconstructed. Now, we also have the alliance between Tema and Achimota, that's Accra. They are underrated. They were also constructed in 1965, and we are reconstructing all those lines. All such projects are ongoing now. Yeah.
But so for you, are you giving yourself any deadline that by this period, we worked on majority of our machines, and that is going to impact on distribution to the final consumer?
Yeah, by third quarter 2018, many of these projects would have been completed, including the 330 kV line that goes to Bogatanga and continues to Ouagadougou. Yeah, virtually everything will be completed, and we should be in a good position to deliver power properly.
In terms of whatever backups that you have, whatever, is the outlook okay, or there are certain areas we still need to watch in terms of having adequate power to distribute it to ECG for the final consumer?
For now, I think we are covered. We are well covered, virtually every part of the country. And once there's enough generation, we should be okay. And currently, we have even more than enough generation in the system.
What do you tell those who said that we've always had this thing before, but we have some blips which are very serious?
Well, occasionally, I mean, the power system is one that can fail at any time anyway, because we are working with machines, and the machines, you cannot always be 100% sure. But what we do is to build in some redundancy into the system. For instance, in Achimota, we just added a brand new transformer. So now we have more than enough transformers over there. If you lose one, you can get onto the rest of them, and that is what we are doing. We are now building redundancies into the system.
That was William Amuna sharing some thoughts with us, or some views with us with respect to how they are working on these substations, so that for you at your home, you are assured of consistent supply of power, as well as if you are a businessman out there. This is Marketplace, your top-line business program that looks at topical business issues, the trending market issues, as well as those issues out there that affect you and I. Now let's move into another segment of this whole program, that is the business fund, that we look at small, medium-sized enterprises out there who are doing some good things. Recently, my colleague Dara visited this company that was doing some great stuff, and we went back to see how things are going right now. Take a watch of what has happened to Market Express.
Remember the story of the banker turned online grocery man?
I was at a point where my passion was definitely greater than my fear, because for many bankers, a lot of people want to quit, but they are afraid, what about if it doesn't go well? You know, so for me, it's down to passion. I think that the passion was definitely greater than the challenge and also the fear of failure. And so we took the dive. I used to tell my friends we wore a parachute and dived in anticipation that the parachute will open. What about if it doesn't open?
Well, guess what? His parachute landed him on safe ground, and today he's running a successful online grocery business.
It's been 1 year since they started operations. This week on the Joy Business Van, we are taking you back to Market Express to find out what's changed. The first thing we noticed is that Ebenezer Latte no longer works from his porch at home. A lot has happened within a year.
We have a bigger clientele base now. We've expanded our reach. So in the past, we were doing only the center of Accra. Now we are going beyond Tema. We're doing all these locations that I believe that it's a show of growth. We've diversified also our portfolio. Initially, we were doing B2C only. Now we have B2B, meaning we have businesses that depend on us for their supplies.
Interestingly, Ebenezer didn't anticipate this boom in business. Ghanaians like to shop for groceries the traditional way, but the idea of getting someone else to handle your shopping seems to be catching on with the middle working class.
The biggest achievement is to prove that Ghanaians will shop for groceries online. In the past, it seemed like this thing is an idea that seems interesting, but I'm not sure people would really do it. People gave interesting arguments like, you know, when people want to buy stuff, they want to touch it and feel it, and when it's food, they are not sure. However, we've mitigated that with quality products and brands. And so, for example, if you bought cornflakes from Market Express, I mean, we don't produce the cornflakes. You know the brands before you buy. And we ensure that we are giving people good brands that they can relate to.
It's not been all rosy though.
There are a number of challenges, and one of them comes especially around operational cost. And so you usually have internet or infrastructure expenditure to do. The price of data and internet is a little expensive in Ghana, so that becomes one of the major costs. We have fleets to manage because we are more a technology and also a logistics company. So they come with challenges. However, in every challenge comes a solution or an opportunity.
It turns out the warehouse hasn't changed that much, and there's a reason behind it, right?
Yes. So we've tried to be more efficient when it comes to our stocking and our pushing out the stock and stuff like that. And so I think that our operations management is very effective. We are a very lean and mean organization. And so what we have tried to do is that we've tried not to hold too much stock. And for that reason, we've tried as much as possible to use the same space over the period.
Ebenezer's entrepreneurial journey is not all about taking risks, but learning not to become complacent.
I was actually the head of the customer service team. So I was picking calls, I was engaging customers, I was learning what the customers were looking for that they couldn't find. Because once we know that, then from the top of the organization, we have a good focus in ensuring that we are satisfying our customers right.
In the near future, Ebenezer hopes to start producing and packaging his own brand of products and introduce an online shopping app.
For me, I don't know why many Ghanaian businesses do not think beyond Ghana and do not think beyond maybe a city center in Accra or Kumasi. I really think that for us, we should aim higher and become this African brand that's significant for the African people.
Ebenezer doesn't rule out Market Express GH becoming a global brand, but right now, he's just satisfied with being able to change the way people shop for groceries every day and to provide a satisfying service. He says he's fulfilled much more than 10 years of banking gave him.
Did you know the government of Ghana has undertaken an initiative to gradually move all public sector workers to the biometric e-switch card platform? The platform is already being used by national service personnel, and GIPS is now deploying POS devices at shops, filling stations, and supermarkets.
And so that was interesting development there with the business van as well as the Jotters highlights for you. Let's now stay or move to other stories with respect to development in the banking and the financial sector. And the Bank of Ghana has forwarded the proposed bill to regulate mobile payments and settlements to the Attorney General's Department. The bill is expected to serve as a guideline for mobile money operations and electronic transactions in the country. Now, addressing stakeholders at this MTN Mobile Money Workshop in Accra, Head of Payments at Bank of Ghana, Seto Amedico, hinted that the Bank of Ghana is actually awaiting the Attorney General's recommendations and approval so that this bill can actually be put in place for you and I.
Exactly 2 years ago, the central bank introduced 2 new guidelines for mobile financial transactions, the e-money issuers guidelines and the agent guidelines, to enhance both the volume and value of mobile financial transactions in the country. The spate of reported cases of fraud in mobile transactions, however, triggered a review. Head of Mobile Money Payment Systems at the Bank of Ghana, Seto Amedico, says plans are underway to develop the 2 regulations into one law.
We have seen that technology has overtaken us. There are a lot of payment streams that are emerging which the guideline could not address. So the central bank in 2016 took the bold step to review the guideline, review our existing Payment System Act, merge the 2 documents into a piece of legislation which we are now calling Payment System and Services Bill. This bill is to take advantage of technological changes, address the gaps in the electronic money guidelines and the Payment System Act, use it to drive financial inclusion. Currently, this bill is before the Attorney General, which is to be made available to Cabinet for onward transmission to Parliament.
He was addressing stakeholders at the MTN Mobile Money Workshop on the topic, addressing barriers to mobile payment adoption in Ghana. Head of Mobile Financial Services at MTN, Eli Hini, pledged his company's support to the cause.
The regulation started with the EMI guidelines, which we were involved in. And for these regulations as well, we've been part of all the dialogue. We've looked at it, we've raised our issues. Some of them have been considered, others have not been considered for obvious reasons by the regulator, and we understand. But I believe that as we go along, some of the issues we raise will become apparent in the way the industry can be better regulated. And we believe that is work in progress, and we'll continue to support whatever the regulator brings.
The workshop is part of programs by the company to mark this year's Mobile Money Month in Ghana, which is celebrated in August every year.
And this is Marketplace. And on this program, we look at how we can empower you, if you're a businessman out there, all those complicated financial jargons and when you hear about them and how it affects you and I. So let's catch some investment tips.
It's brought to you by Daffing Finance, Deposits, Investments, Borrowings and Advisory.
Investment objective, the risk question. What are the risk expectations? How much money, including the principal, are you willing and able to lose? What is the risk tolerance level? The extent to which an investor is risk averse. What is the risk quantification level? This is the percentum of income or principal an investor is willing to lose. Risk-return trade-off. Higher risk acceptance goes with higher returns, and the reverse is also true.
Investment Tips was brought to you by Daffin Finance, Deposits, Investments, Borrowings and Advisory.
And I hope you have been empowered. Of course, that's what we do on Marketplace. My name is George Riafe, and that's all for the program. It's about 1:30. I am stepping out for some lunch. Catch you next week.